So students, in continuation of the lecture series, we'll be discussing today about the forging process. So we have discussed about the hot working and cold working process and the advantage of each process. So now we'll move on to the actual process of metal forming, how metal forming is done. Based on the type of equipment used, metal forming can be classified into various categories. One such category is forging, then there is rolling, extrusion, and wire forming process. So these four processes broadly classify most of the metal forming process. So if you take any metal forming process, they can be fit into these four categories. That is forging, extrusion, rolling, and wire drawing process. So first among that process is forging. Forging involves use of a hammer or a hydraulic press. Simply, in simple terms, it uses a sudden load on the workpiece to change its shape. So what happens in a forging process, we will see now. So as you can see here, it uses a hammer to produce compressive force on the material. So most metal forming process involves the application of compressive process. If you take forging, extrusion, or rolling, these three process uses compressive force to shape the material. Whereas if you take the wire drawing process alone, it uses tensile force to shape the material. So here forging, compressive force is used. So there are different types of forging process available. In all these categories, one thing common is you will be using a hammer or a press. Press is nothing but a hydraulic press. Hammer is a drop hammer. So you just drop the hammer on the workpiece. Press is a more precise instrument. It will use hydraulic pressure to impart shape on the material. So drop forging typically involves dropping a hammer on the workpiece. So it can be classified again into two major categories. One is open die forging and another one is closed die forging. So these two categories are classified based on the type of hammer used. If a impression hammer or a die is used, so die is nothing but it will be similar to your pattern. So in casting, you are using pattern. Pattern is the replica of the object to be made. Similarly, in closed die forging, what we'll be using is we'll be using a die. A die will be in the shape of the component to be made. For example, if you are making a spanner using the forging process, then the hammer die will be in the shape of a spanner. It will have protrusion in the shape of a hammer. So that when it is pressing the hot metal or cold metal, it impregnates the shape on the workpiece. So I'll show the help of an image. So as you can see here, in closed die forging, we will be using a die which is in the shape of the material to be made. In this case, we are making a hexagon using this closed die forging, and hence the die will be in the shape of a die will be in the shape of a hexagon. So when you compress it, it gets into the shape of the hexagon. In open die forging, the hammer will be flat in nature. So it can be used to make rods, cylinders, square bars, rectangular bars, round bars. Like that, it can be used to make angular attachments. Like that can be made using this open die forging, where shape does not matter. Particular shape does not matter, but you need some geometrical shape. That can be made using open die forging. In closed die forging, you will be making required particular shapes. So larger components are typically made using open die forging. For example, if you need to make a large shaft or a large rod, then you can use open die forging. If you need specific shapes, smaller specific shapes, you can go for this closed die forging or impression forging. In impression forging, the impression of the object will be made on the piece. So this another type of forging is press forging. In the drop forging, hammer will be dropped on the workpiece. In a press forging, hydraulic press will be used. It is more precise when compared to the drop forging process. So students, to conclude today, we discussed about the forging process. Forging is using of compression force to make the shape of the workpiece. So there are two major categories. One is open die forging, another one is closed die forging. Hope you understood this lecture. We'll see in the next lecture. Thank you, students.